Time to take care of things. I better call my boss. On that thought, Frederick quickly drops off his tool pack and struggles out of his bulky Eva suit. The whole ordeal takes a few minutes, but eventually he is free again. Slipping back into his overall, he turned towards his suit, which is hanging on the wall. Okay, now how do I transport that thing? He ponders, thinking about his blind passenger. His suit will stay here, and he needs to get the sample from here to anywhere else, at least for the time being. But without a container for it, this would be difficult. He opens his locker, searching for any kind of bag or box. Come on, pants, shirts, aha, found something. That should do. He reaches for a transparent, hermetically sealable plastic bag. Normally those would be used for dangerous biological samples, but it will do in a pinch. He floats back over to his suit and carefully opens its pouch with the wondrous piece of metal inside. Using his work glass to protect him, he pulls a chunk out of the pocket. Aside from the countless possible dangers it presents, it is actually very pretty, he thinks to himself. And now that he is able to look at it in a calm atmosphere, he can make out the bizarre and chaotic, but also really organised patterns on its surface. It is similar to bismuth crystals, but much more disorganised and also a lot softer in its shape, almost organic even. He rotates it in his hand, looking at it from different angles, quickly finding out something else. It's kind of warm. As he gives it a quick thought, he stops for a moment. Wait, why would it be warm? Oh, radioactivity. With more haste than before, he places the chunk in the bag and seals it. I really should go to a medical checkup after this. Probably got blasted with 2 years' worth of radiation today, he half jokes to himself. Together with his nuclear rock, Frederick gets out of the stuffy airlock. He still has a bad feeling about the whole situation, like something in the back of his mind is constantly telling him that he is in danger. Focusing on it, he gets lost in thought. But as the loud hydraulic mechanism closes behind him, he is pulled back to the present. He has a lot left on his plate, so he tries to calm his uneasy feeling. Whatever is going to happen, it's better than ending up as a body, right? Not really feeling any better, he reluctantly pushes himself off the wall and floats back towards the cockpit. On his way there, he passes the crew cabins, the living area, the laboratory, and... Wait, the laboratory? He reaches out for a handle on the wall and grabs it, trying to stop his flight through the corridor, but ends up smacking against the wall with a loud thud, as his forward momentum is converted into rotation rather suddenly. God damn it! He cries out. Weirdly hanging on the wall, he rubs his hip bone that definitely wants a word with him right now. Lucky for him, the designers of this craft already planned for people's stupidity and put some padding on the walls. What a great fucking day. Hey, Mia. Reshape spin and park the shuttle, will ya? He calls out with somewhat hidden frustration. Affirmative. Please prepare for reintroduction of gravity. The source-less voice answers. Not going to take another chance of smacking into the wall like a goddamn idiot. Commander, just a moment ago, the ship's sensors detected an impact in one of the main corridor's walls. Are you alright? The voice asks him without emotion. Frederick lets out a sharp breath and bites his lower lip. The MI's cold, clinical tone not helping with his frustration. Yeah, I'm alright, just ignore it please. Today is not my day, he says in a defeated tone. Commander, you seem to have some trouble with basic motor skills today. Please remember that being intoxicated off-world is not allowed and a violation of your contract. I'm alright, okay, I'm not drunk or anything, it's just... Today's been hard on me. Commander, did something happen during your time off-ship? Do you really not require medical attention? I'm starting to wonder too. Okay, what about this? I'm going to report to Mr. Pavlov, and then I'm going to take a nap. If that doesn't help, then I'm going to return to base and get a checkup. Does that satisfy your protocols? Affirmative. Good. During his little talk with Mia, the gravity has almost completely returned, and he can finally stow away his little friend in the lab's hazmat compartment. Luckily, it only takes him a few steps to get there, as he just darted past the lab door 2 meters and some loose change, but that doesn't mean his injured hip can't still mourn it. Quickly entering the access code, the door slides open, allowing him entrance into the laboratory. Wasting no time, Frederick quickly walks over to the wall of reinforced metal shelves that look grotesquely close to a morgue's freezers. Most of their indicators are green, so he just opens the first one that's available and puts the bag inside. Now be a good rock and behave, alright? Stay, he jokes. Giving it a brief last glance, he seals the door and takes out a Sharpie to label the compartment. What should I call it? Gold metal? Nah, boring. Danger potato? That's stupid. Sentient metal? That'd be copying their scientists. No. Though Danger Potato has a ring to it, but I gotta stay professional. He thinks for a moment, biting the end of his pen. I don't really know what the hell it does, but it could be useful. Maybe something like Pandora's Box. Yeah, that could work. How about Pandora Night? There, he says with a satisfied smile. Really outdid myself there. After labelling the compartment, he grabs pretty much every single hazmat sign in the lab and sticks them on its door. Biohazard, radioactive, corrosive, cancerous, poisonous, the usual. And there now is, among all the other plain metal doors, a single one that has something scored on it, and about 12 different warning signs plus on it. A sight to behold. Well, at least finding it again won't be a problem, he jests. But there is no delay in the inevitable anymore. There is nothing left to do besides calling his boss, Mr. Pavlov. Ooh boy. Frederick stills his nerves to what's to come and exits the laboratory, taking a left and walking towards the cockpit. Even though the trip itself is a short one, it feels like an eternity to Frederick. How is his boss going to react to the news of an actual alien being found? Nearing the cockpit door, Frederick clenches his fist and tries to hype himself up. I can do this, just your everyday alien, after all. He presses the button, and the door pops open. Awkwardly half crawling for it again, he enters the cockpit. Sitting in his fly seat, he flips a familiar switch. Mia, connect me with Mr. Pavlov. Affirmative. Following this, he waits for what feels like an eternity, listening to the absolute silence. At least until a somewhat familiar, rough and commanding voice starts talking. Pavlov here. What do you need, Mr. McLeroy? Frederick can feel his heartbeat at this point. Hello, Mr. Pavlov. I need to tell you about some things that happened today, Frederick says in a high-pitched voice. That doesn't sound good now, does it? What happened? The man inquires, both concerned and wary. On my way to a routine convoy repair, I encountered a strange signal. It contained only garbled nonsense, but I can make out its origin. It's around Mare Frigoris, he explained. I don't see why that would normally matter to me, but I know you, Mr. McLeroy. What makes it so important to call me about it, he asks in a friendly yet firm way. I kind of went there, to be honest, Frederick says in an apologetic tone. I already thought so, and what happened there? That is where things begin to be interesting, sir. I'm listening, Mr. Pavlov answers, now a lot more serious. On my way there, part of a message could be deciphered, but it was cryptic and made little sense. As I arrived on the scene, I found myself in front of a first or second wave surface base, but there was not a single person in sight. That's worrying. I don't know of any such bases around these parts. I thought so myself, too, but I went inside and found the place completely tossed, covered in a golden dust. Power was out and still, nobody in sight. Out of the corner of his eye, Frederick can see a screen flicker for a moment. As I scouted the place, I connected a memory module to my suit and found out what happened there. Mr. McLeroy, that sounds worrying, Mr. Pavlov explains in a grim voice. And it should be. The logs told of a scouting team encountering a chunk of an unknown material. A golden metal chunk. You said something about golden dust covering the base, right? Yes. As it turns out, the chunk of metal they found is sentient. It sounds ridiculous, but it is true. Frederick pauses for a moment. Something happened down there and people died, Mr. Pavlov. I saw their bodies. Frederick's voice begins to waver. Goodness. Are you alright, Frederick? His boss asks, concerned. I think so, but there is one more thing. I talked with it. It's not just sentient, Mr. Pavlov. It's sapient. Good God, The signal is cut off. Frederick panics and tries to figure out why the call ended. Looking at his screens, he notices something worrying. There was a massive power surge, and it's already reaching critical levels. If this keeps up, there will be a reactor overload. Frantically, he tries to shut down individual modules to conserve power, but none of his inputs get through. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Where's the emergency button? The power surge continues to rise without an end in sight, and he has to make a call. There is some exotic material aboard, and if power goes out with it still on board, bad things could happen. Either he jettisons it, costing the company a few millions, or he tries to contain the situation. Quickly, he makes a decision. He goes to the emergency button, but something is off. His arm is getting heavier. His head starts spinning, and all of the screens suddenly go dark. The vertigo is getting worse and worse, and his head feels as if someone tried to suck his brain out the back. Within mere moments, he suffers extreme tunnel vision and total loss of motor control. He can hear Mia saying something muddily. The last thing he sees before the world goes black is a single mote of light dancing in front of the ship.